JP, Lok Satta has managed to construct a platform of politics that is obviously different from that of other politics. You said that. However, the first few years of this politics hasn't seen significant growth in your vote share. Why is that?
What ought to be the solution in any democracy has become the problem itself. In any democracy, if things go wrong, you go to the people, come up with your ideas. 8 years ago, Barack Obama was unknown. Nobody heard of him. 9 years ago, 2003, he was unknown. In 2004, he just gave one speech in the election campaign. And when John Kerry was the candidate for the Democratic Party, and that brought some attention. Then he became a senator in that election. 4 years later, he became the president. Why? He is a man with ideas, organizational ability. The nation needed those ideas, and suddenly the whole nation was galvanized. So you had a political process which allows such things to happen. In India, there is a huge entry barrier. Without vast expenditure in our kind of electoral system, in our society, without vast visibility, it's very difficult to overcome the barriers of communication or overcome the fear, the nameless fear, or the nameless uncertainty that most ordinary voters in a desperately poor and illiterate country feel. We have three huge barriers in this country. The money power itself is an offshoot of that. Most people don't understand citizenship. The perception of most voters is, I voted for you, you are now the new Maharaja, the new king, you do it. I don't know. I'm not involved. You take care. That's why Ashwin's point that it must be democracy by the people. It's a very important one. We've forgotten that. We have somehow think that once we voted, that's it. The king will deliver. The second is, we have such a highly centralized system, almost nothing seems to happen. The third is, even for the smallest thing to happen, there is a huge problem.
You want to stop for some time?
Just a second, sir.
Right now?
Degree of centralization.
All right.
The second challenge is the high degree of centralization. Almost nothing is decided at the local level, and therefore nothing happens well. The more centralized things are, the more inefficient, the more delayed, the more distanced, and so on and so forth. And therefore the people don't see the value of the vote. And the third is, almost nothing, even routine things, almost nothing gets done the way it should get done. A birth certificate, a ration card, a registration of an offense in a police station, or a residence certificate, or water connection, or a house building approval. Almost nothing happens without sifarish or a bribe. In such a climate, politics completely gets distorted. Without a local electoral machinery, comprised of people who make politics a profession, a money-making profession. The unspoken deal is, I give my time, I do nothing else, this is my business, this is my dhanda, this is my business. On a scale of 100, if 100 things need to be done, I'll at least get 3 or 4 things done because of sifarish, because of influence peddling, because of intervention. But in return, I occupy government lands, I get a share of contracts, I get government officials transferred and make money. I do everything. I get mines. Karnataka is famous for that. Andhra Pradesh is famous for that. From land to sand to mine to everything is handled by politicians. In that kind of an extremely intricate, very well entrenched system of politics, for this kind of new politics, the way it ought to be, to gain credence, first stage is for people to understand and respect. That's happening on a large enough scale. Today, there's a recognition, there's an understanding of the need, there's appreciation, there's respect. But the bigger change is going to be when that respect is translated into vote. Because even now, given the first past the post system, anywhere in the world, people tend to vote for a party which is a likely winner. Therefore, there's this perception wrongly that the vote is wasted. Little realizing that actually when you vote for the traditional parties and candidates who are doing the same things, whatever the party label, your vote is wasted. Your life is wasted actually. Your city is wasted. Your state is wasted. Your country is wasted. We forget that. So we think it's really an electoral struggle between the candidates. We are marginal. It's not about us as people. So we have to really break this mental barrier, and that's what we're making very earnest efforts. Now, what is the general perception in India? If even Mahatma Gandhi contested an election today, if he did not do what contemporary politicians do, namely give money and liquor and do whatever it takes to divide society to get the vote, he would lose the deposit. From there, increasingly now, Lok Satta is seen to be a credible political platform which does not have to indulge in all these things and yet garners some vote and even get some victories. For instance, when Kukatpalli constituency in Andhra Pradesh elected one legislator without money and liquor, it sent shockwaves. People never really believed it was possible. And probably it's the only party in the country which could actually do that. So it's a huge challenge, it's a monumental challenge, but unless it's a public challenge, not merely Lok Satta party's challenge, not merely Dr. Ashwin Mahesh's challenge, it's a challenge of Bengaluru citizens, challenge of Kannadigas, Karnataka people, challenge of all Indians, it cannot be met. All we can do is create a platform and assiduously, systematically, and very, very honestly, with great integrity and commitment, pursue this path. And I'm sure that this change is now going to happen in the next few months to years.
Dr. Ashwin, how do you create awareness among people about what Lok Satta is doing? They are doing really good job, but to be very frank, not many people know about the party itself.
I think this goes back to what I said earlier. The party is important, but the outcome is more important. The party is a vehicle to achieve that outcome. So you must first step back and ask, what is the outcome that you are pursuing? Outcomes that we are pursuing are empowerment of the people in their own communities, giving them the possibility that some of the problems that they encounter today can be solved by themselves, and the possibility that for problems that they cannot solve locally, they have the opportunity to create from among themselves leaders who can go and represent them in larger spaces. This is the goal. This is a constitutional, you might say, a torch that we are trying to carry and say, this is the goal towards which all of us are striving. In this process, it is not only the party that should be judged, it is society itself that should be judged. Are we as a society creating the necessary space for getting to the outcomes that we are pursuing? When I've been speaking publicly in various places, I tell people, imagine India as you want it to be 20 years from now. Then ask yourself, can you get there without good politics? Almost without exception, I've heard people say, it is impossible to create the India of our dreams without good politics. People already believe what Lok Satta has been saying. What they are now learning to believe is that there is a mechanism for getting there that begins in your heart, in your community, with problem solving that you yourself can take up at your level. And I think this is where Bangalore can be a leader. In Bangalore, we have a tradition of people who intervene in government, who push for solutions to be taken up in municipal administration, in the transport corporation, in the power corporation, in various other institutions and agencies, and say that these are solutions that are achievable by the people, by their voluntary contribution to public problem solving, regardless of the fact that they are neither elected nor appointed in actual formal government. And this is the real hope. The problems in this country are running at 100 kilometers per hour. The solutions are running at 1 or 2 kilometers per hour. So the question keeps coming up again and again and again. How do you make the solution scale fast enough to create the outcome that you are looking for? And what I say in response is, you can never repeat the solution fast enough to catch up with the problem. What you need is a culture that creates problem-solving people. If you have a culture that creates problem-solving people, then you'll catch up to the problem.